Trouble in Beastland? MrBeast is facing controversy on several different fronts, and all this comes at a terrible time, right when Amazon is investing potentially hundreds of millions of dollars into the Beast games, which is facing its own controversy. Now, a lot of this is outside of my field, but people are claiming that MrBeast broke the law. And that is my bat signal, or eagle signal. From Feastables to the Beast games, he can do it all. Or can he? An ex-employee is making waves by claiming that everything about MrBeast's empire is fake.
If what we did was scripted, holy shit, this stuff would be easy to pump out.
Have you ever faked a video?
No.
But this train track is CGI, these bus wheels are CGI, this explosion is fake, this shredder is CGI, this car is digitally lifted, this pit is fake, this guy is fake, this raccoon is a paid actor.
And it doesn't stop there. There are claims that MrBeast's frequent giveaways are actually illegal lotteries, and that MrBeast contests run afoul of federal anti-rigging laws. And looking at the other side, the ex-employee may have signed a non-disclosure agreement, which he might be violating by producing his videos. Is he gonna be in trouble too? Well, to understand all this, you have to understand who MrBeast is and what a MrBeast video is. Well, MrBeast, whose real name is Jimmy Donaldson, is known for his elaborate and philanthropic videos. His videos often feature massive challenges, expensive stunts, and big giveaways. MrBeast has over 300 million subscribers, and he's expanded his empire to candy bars and to cheeseburgers, and will soon host a game show on Amazon Prime. And now an ex-employee claims that MrBeast fakes his videos and runs illegal lotteries. The man, who goes by Dogpack404 on Twitter, alleged that MrBeast's company engaged in fake giveaways, rigged videos, ran illegal lotteries, and sold fake signatures. Though according to Chucky Appleby, who runs MrBeast's Ideas and Thumbnails team, the man worked for MrBeast for less than a month before he was fired for erratic behavior. But the former worker started a YouTube channel and produced a video alleging that MrBeast runs illegal lotteries.
And obviously, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm just gonna show you the law and then show you irrefutable evidence of what's being done, and you can make your own conclusions. The FTC defines a lottery as containing 3 elements.
And here he's mostly correct about the legal elements of a lottery. This varies state by state, but most jurisdictions define a lottery as having 3 elements. Consideration, which is payment to participate, a prize, which must be something of value, and chance, which means that the winner is determined by luck. If all 3 of these elements are present and the lottery is not regulated, it is likely illegal, because lotteries in the United States are exclusively run by the government. Now, this is in contrast to what I'll generally call a contest, which is not based on chance so much as skill or intellect. And that's why it's generally legal to have a prize for a contest, even when there's an entry fee, because it's not based on chance and therefore does not constitute a lottery. Lotteries are distinct from sweepstakes and raffles, which are illegal. Sweepstakes are games where a person is chosen randomly to win a prize, and sweepstakes participants do not give consideration to enter. Now, we'll talk more about this in a second, but the reason a sweepstakes is generally allowable in the context of buying something to enter is that there is an option to enter the same sweepstakes without a purchase necessary. And a raffle is an activity in which people buy tickets with different numbers, some of which are later chosen to win prizes, that's organized in order to make money for a good social purpose. And raffles are generally only legal when they're conducted by non-profits. So let's go back to the video that people are claiming is an illegal lottery. During a 2020 livestream, the MrBeast crew sold limited edition t-shirts that cost $42. The sign in the background says, "Buy a shirt and I'll sign it."
For those of you who are just joining, if you buy one of our limited edition 40 mil special shirts, we're celebrating 40 million subscribers with a really big video, then we will sign that shirt, and some of them will get random prizes like this.
So the parameters of the offer were that a fan buys an autographed t-shirt and they get the possibility of winning a prize. The winners were supposed to be chosen randomly at different intervals, but MrBeast changed the rules of the giveaway midstream.
They would say something like, buy in the next 5 minutes for a chance to win. And then 7 minutes later go, actually, the newest order in 30 seconds is gonna win.
Dogpack says that during the 6-hour live stream, MrBeast offered 46 illegal lotteries with a retail value of over $47,000. Now, typically when you review the terms and conditions of a giveaway like this one, the first disclaimer you'll see is the statement, "No purchase necessary." That's how you get around the lottery rules. You offer people a way to participate in the sweepstakes without having to purchase anything. Now, MrBeast's 6-hour live streams look a little sloppy. They're not like the MrBeast videos of today. The full video isn't available anymore, so we don't know whether there was a disclaimer in the video or in the description, but it does look like a purchase was required and there was no free way to enter. So in some jurisdictions, MrBeast probably would have been running an illegal lottery. And if true, he probably wouldn't be alone. This was frankly pretty common on YouTube back in the day. And it's also common for YouTubers to get legal advice later after they become more successful. Remember, kids, talk to your lawyer early and often. We can often save you a ton of headache in the future. But not offering a free method of participation is a pitfall that I've seen a lot of YouTubers do when it comes to giveaways or bonuses. It's so common, in fact, that a very large YouTuber, Captain Sparkles, even admitted to doing the same thing while he was talking about this MrBeast situation.
I will admit to something here that may be past the statute of limitations, but the way that I found out about illegal lotteries to begin with is because I accidentally did one.
You know, if it were me, even if it were super common, I would not admit to breaking the law on camera. But, you know, you do you. That's more work for lawyers in the future. And a lot of private companies have gotten in trouble for doing the same kind of giveaway. The Department of Justice concluded that the Ironman Triathlon organization conducted an illegal lottery by charging athletes $50 for a chance to compete in its world championship. So the World Triathlon Corp, which runs Ironman, also encouraged people to pay an additional $50 to purchase memberships in a club that would increase their chances of getting into the championship race. They didn't offer a refund to people whose entries weren't chosen and gave them no future credit towards registration for those that were chosen. And the company ran this promotion for decades, between 1983 and 2015. But as a result, the company agreed to forfeit the $2.76 million that they had collected and cease the lottery practice, though it denied any wrongdoing. Now, there is one more interesting wrinkle when it comes to MrBeast potentially engaging in illegal lottery. Now, we talked about the different elements of a lottery. You have to have the element of chance, there has to be a prize, but also the people looking to participate in the lottery have to offer consideration. Now, consideration for the purposes of lotteries is often construed narrowly. It does not need to include money. If a person has to make an effort to register, this can constitute consideration under the law. So for example, if you pay $42 for a t-shirt in exchange for the chance to win a prize, you've definitely provided consideration. And likewise, if you have to complete a long survey or make several trips to the store, many regulatory authorities also say that you've made a significant effort to get into a lottery. But not everything qualifies as consideration. If you mail a postcard to enter into a contest, the 50-cent postage does not count as consideration in most jurisdictions. So in another one of MrBeast's giveaways, he purchased 1,000 Samsung phones and gave them away randomly to people who subscribed to his channel. Now, whether this is an illegal lottery or a legal sweepstakes depends on whether the state law construes subscribing to the channel as consideration. Now, in North Carolina, where MrBeast is based, if the promotion includes a purchase, payment, or substantial effort, and it's a game of chance resulting in a prize, then it's likely an illegal lottery. If it's non-monetary consideration, the person would have to make a, quote, substantial degree of effort for it to be considered consideration. In the past, substantial effort examples include attending an all-day sales presentation or going to a scavenger hunt. But simply watching a TV program or visiting a location one time was not considered substantial effort in North Carolina. So I could definitely see a North Carolina court saying that simply pressing the subscribe button does not qualify as a substantial effort necessary to make it consideration. Now, what makes this situation even more complicated is that sometimes MrBeast videos contain both a contest and a sweepstakes. So take, for example, the video 100 Boys versus 100 Girls for $500,000. Here are the rules.
I built 2 massive circles and put 100 boys in one and 100 girls in the other. And whichever circle has more people after 100 hours wins $500,000.
So if any player steps on the red line, they're eliminated from the game. And during the 100 hours, MrBeast tempted the players with various offers, like giving one of the guys $10,000 for solving a Rubik's Cube.
We're gonna offer the one guy in there that knows how to solve them $10,000 to leave right now.
He also offered the girls a free car if they agreed to leave.
If Chris scratches it, it's coming with it. You don't have to get out, but whenever you do, your brand new car's right there.
Now, that video was sponsored by a company called Current, and that company offered a separate sweepstakes. Now, it looks like by the time of this video, which comes 2 years later, MrBeast either lawyered up or learned his lesson, because it seems like he knew what he was doing in this particular video, because this video allows participation in the sweepstakes without purchase. The description reads, "No purchase or payment necessary to enter or win. Void outside the US and where prohibited, etc., more legalese." So the contestants, the viewers, did not have to join Current, the video sponsor, to enter into that particular sweepstakes. It links to other terms and conditions, and people had an opportunity to review the official rules to determine how the prize would be allocated. So it looks like sometime in the last 4 years, MrBeast got his act together and started complying with anti-lottery rules. Now, obviously, if you're running an illegal lottery, you'll want a good lawyer. But if you want a great lawyer, my law firm, the Eagle team, can help. If you've suffered a data breach, especially if you got a letter saying that your social security number had been leaked, if you were involved in a car crash or have an immigration issue or just about anything else, we can represent you or help find you the right attorney. Because it's so important to talk to a lawyer right away so you maximize your recovery and find out what your options are. So just click on the link in the description or call the phone number on screen for a free consultation with my team. Because you don't just need a legal team, you need the Eagle team. So click on the link below. But many are conflating the old video of MrBeast offering a prize for buying a t-shirt, which arguably does constitute a lottery, with all MrBeast videos that happen to involve prizes in general. But these are very different situations, and the analysis is different too. MrBeast is known for giving subscribers a chance to take part in his videos, and Dogpack takes issue with this, arguing that, quote,
So yeah, the random subscribers you see in challenges are actually never random. They're almost always local to MrBeast, and oftentimes friends and family of MrBeast employees, or just the employees themselves.
And he highlighted some specific videos he says backs up his claims, specifically the video Boys vs. Girls for $500,000. He says the whole thing was rigged because the contestants weren't random subscribers.
Let's look at this video. Not only were the results of this video completely scripted, but the contestants are not random subscribers.
So many people had jobs.
Oh, that contestant had to get out for her job? I guess you forgot she's your hiring manager. I actually recognize a lot of people in this video, including Jimmy's own girlfriend.
Chucky Appleby acknowledged that some of the players were friends or employees. Quote, the employees in the video were there to fill in for people who tested positive for COVID last minute right before filming. Thea, Jimmy's girlfriend, mentioned this on a podcast over a year ago. If it wasn't for COVID, they would not have been in it. They had the same money on the line as everyone else. And Dogpack also said that he received text messages from another Beast worker who said they had to rig the game so that the boys didn't win by so much.
According to a former MrBeast employee, it would have been a PR problem if the boys had won by a lot. And because so many of the female contestants were MrBeast employees who got out immediately, production stepped in to actually make the results of the challenge closer.
Now, there's absolutely nothing illegal about using friends or acquaintances in your videos. And it doesn't necessarily follow that just because MrBeast might have known some of the people who appeared in his videos, that he rigged the videos in their favor. Now, your mileage may vary as to whether it's a good or bad look to include friends in videos where there's money on the line. Now, arguably, you might conclude that if the video makes it appear that every contestant is random, and it turns out that that's not the case, then it makes it more likely that the outcome is rigged in their favor. MrBeast, after all, might want to patronize his friends. But you might also conclude that there is no connection between the identity of the contestants and the outcome. Now, I haven't reviewed every single MrBeast video. I have a life. Personally, I think this is probably closer to the truth, but I can see how people might feel deceived. And as it happens, I happen to know several people who have appeared in MrBeast videos. Again, because he needed someone to fill in at the last second and they happened to be nearby. In fact, you might know them, Dave the Agent and Patrick Willems. And I can tell you, the video was not rigged in their favor at all. They happened to be taking a tour of MrBeast's facilities and got pegged to fill in at the last moment to put an entire GameStop inside of a triangle. They actually succeeded, and they've told me that everyone was shocked that they were able to do it.
Everyone's gotta let go at the same time. 3, 2, 1, everyone let go. Everyone let go. No one touching it? No one. Oh, congratulations!
It was definitely not rigged or predetermined. Now, I can't speak to all MrBeast videos, but in at least one instance where he knew the contestants, the video was certainly not rigged. And I do know that logistically, since many of MrBeast's videos are filmed in his hometown of Greenville, North Carolina, it's often hard to fill all of the spots for his videos. And I also know that MrBeast and his team invest in hundreds or thousands of cameras, producers, and video editors to be able to record and cull through thousands of hours of footage for his videos. And my feeling is that MrBeast will do whatever's possible to make the most engaging and entertaining video possible. But I certainly can't speak to every video he's ever made, nor can I speak to the audience expectations of the videos that he does make. But let's say that the videos were rigged, completely manipulated, and predetermined. Would that be illegal? Dogpack alleges that MrBeast rigged the game so that the boys didn't win by so much. MrBeast changed the rules or offered different challenges throughout the 100 hours. At one point, he says he wanted to make the game more competitive by trying to introduce more boys to drop out. And in one sense, duh, this is a MrBeast video. He makes various offers and changes the rules to make things more entertaining. He manipulates the events to add drama, much like any game show where things occur to make things interesting. But here, let's make a distinction. There are the rules as laid out to the contestants before they participate, and the rules as laid out in the video. Now, you can imagine that the contract between the contestant and, Beast Enterprises lays out certain terms for the relationship. Now, I've never seen one of those contracts. My guess is that it gives Beast Enterprises quite a lot of flexibility to deal with the contestant. But if they breach those terms, then they might be liable for breach of contract or maybe even fraud. And then there are the terms that show up in the final video after the filming. Those might not be the same. Now, whether you're allowed to change the rules in the video largely depends on how much freedom you have in the rules in your contract with the contestant. Now, remember this because we'll come back to it in a second. Now, following up on the allegations from Dogpack, YouTuber Upper Echelon claimed that MrBeast videos are just flat out illegal. For example, Rosanna Pansino was featured in a MrBeast competition series called Creator Games, which pits YouTube personalities against each other in games like hide and seek. She claimed that MrBeast selectively edited the video to make it appear that she did not finish in the top 3, and instead they made it look like Logan Paul did finish in the top 3.
Survivor, despite being mentioned by this alleged former employee in passing, has a particularly relevant lawsuit brought forward by a contestant of season 1, where she alleges that producers of the show engaged in a scheme to prearrange outcomes by persuading, influencing, or intimidating contestants.
And she claimed that MrBeast changed the rules. Originally, they were told they couldn't hide in the ceiling, but the winner was allowed to hide in the ceiling. Now, Upper Echelon claims that MrBeast did exactly the same thing that landed the TV show Survivor in legal hot water.
47 USC 509, which pertains to, quote, prohibited practices in contests of knowledge, skill, or chance.
Now, whether you think it's a good idea to use clever editing or manipulating the rules to change the outcome is not the same thing as necessarily being against the law. But Upper Echelon points to a lawsuit by Season 1 Survivor contestant Stacey Stillman, who was the third person ever voted off the series.
Well, the weather has spoken, and the tribe has spoken. It's time for you to go.
However, she later alleged that the show creator Mark Burnett actually orchestrated her demise. She claims that Burnett intervened in the game by convincing two of her teammates to vote her off the island rather than a contestant who had been a fan favorite, Rudy Bosch. Bosch was a gruff former Navy SEAL who was quick with one-liners.
The only reason I'd bring a Bible is if, I'm religious too, if I needed toilet paper.
Burnett allegedly believed that Rudy was better for ratings than Stillman, and Bosch later placed third in the game. Stillman is a lawyer, so she sued for fraud, breach of contract, and unlawful business practices in violation of California Business and Professions Code 17200, with the predicate being 47 U.S.C. 509. Now, the parties settled before trial, as most lawsuits do. But the interesting thing about Stillman's complaint is that she claimed that Burnett violated 47 U.S.C. 509, which is a federal law that regulates contests that are run by TV and radio broadcasters and their sponsors. It says it shall be unlawful for any person with intent to deceive the listening or viewing public to supply any contestant in a purportedly bona fide contest of intellectual knowledge or intellectual skill, any special and secret assistance whereby the outcome of such contest will be in whole or in part prearranged or predetermined, by means of persuasion, bribery, intimidation, or otherwise, to induce or cause any contestant in a purportedly bona fide contest of intellectual knowledge or intellectual skill to refrain in any manner from using or displaying his knowledge or skill in such contest whereby the outcome thereof will be in whole or in part predetermined or prearranged. Or 3, to engage in any artifice or scheme for the purpose of prearranging or predetermining in whole or in part the outcome of a purportedly bona fide contest of intellectual knowledge, intellectual skill, or chance. This is the basis for the FCC's contest rule, which provides that it's illegal to predetermine or prearrange the outcome of a contest or to broadcast a predetermined or prearranged contest. It stems from a series of quiz shows in the 1950s that were absolutely rigged. And in fact, there's a great Ray Fiennes movie about this particular situation. But the FCC requires broadcasters to disclose rules and policies applicable to their contests, including the method of entry, eligibility restrictions, entry deadlines, prize restrictions, winner selection procedures, and the value of the prize. And after analyzing this statute, Upper Echelon points to a situation in the Boys vs. Girls video that he claims runs afoul. In particular, he points to a situation where MrBeast tried to coax one of the boys who knew how to solve a Rubik's Cube from leaving the contest to make it more fair to the other contestants who did not know how to solve a Rubik's Cube in the Rubik's Cube's challenge.
I can't personally say at what specific point in time a creator who owns a media company that is 10 or 20 times larger and more successful than mainstream broadcast television networks becomes liable under those same rules.
So yeah, seems like manipulation may be in the service of predetermining the outcome. But the FCC does not regulate radio or television that is not broadcast over the airwaves. Its website even says the FCC does not regulate online content. The reason for this is the First Amendment. You're generally allowed to produce whatever kind of TV show you want, or YouTube video that you want. It was thought, and still is, that when it came to shows that were broadcast over the air before cable TV or largely the internet, because that was a limited resource, the argument went, the government had more say over what could be broadcast. That's why there's always been so much more cursing and nudity on HBO and not NBC. HBO has never been regulated by the FCC. It might be hard to believe, but there was a time when there were only a handful, like 3, TV stations, and you needed an antenna to be able to receive them. Luckily, we have evolved from this barbarity. So Upper Echelon's video incorrectly claims that MrBeast's video ran afoul of this law, cited in the Stillman complaint, 47 U.S.C. 509, prohibited practices in contests of knowledge, skill, or chance.
Which deceived the audience, fulfilling basically every single part of this law at one time or another, from what I can tell, in my opinion, to the very letter.
Yeah, that's just wrong. The law does not apply to satellite radio, the internet, or cable. Now, I don't mean to cast aspersions on this YouTuber. He's upfront about the fact that he's not a lawyer, but this is what often makes the law so difficult. You can find something that looks like it applies, but it's wildly out of context and is basically irrelevant. That's why people need lawyers. Now, ironically, a commenter to this video who claims to be a lawyer chimed in to proclaim that, quote, those laws do in fact apply to YouTube as well. I've actually dealt with it personally, and it doesn't end well for the accused. This person later says they've been a lawyer for all of 7 months and, quote, I've already seen so many cases and it's sick. Now, I saw this and it took a second. Was I wrong? Did I learn nothing in law school? That really doesn't seem accurate in the context of the US. Then I kept reading the comments from this lawyer. It's universal. All the ground need to follow is that it was broadcast live. There are exceptions, but this is pretty clear. At least that's how it stands in Canada. Oh, okay. This is why you don't trust randos on the internet, especially when they claim to be lawyers. Absolutely nothing this person says is true. Maybe that's the law in Canada, but not here. This law does not apply to YouTubers because they stream over the internet. It just doesn't apply. And in any event, the Stillman lawsuit settled, so we don't even know how a jury would have found, and it appears that the FCC never even investigated Survivor for the 509 violation based on her claims. And I don't want to belabor the point, but arguably the terms of the law might not even apply. It's not clear that the manipulating the activities of a contest would necessarily count as predetermining the outcome, and it's not clear that the various contests or games of skill or intellect that would be covered anyway. And often there's nothing secretive about what MrBeast is doing in the video contest. He says what he's going to do, and then he does it. As you probably know, game shows often change the stakes all the time, even on broadcast television. Now, whether any of the contestants have a claim for breach of contract or fraud depends on what was in their contract before they agreed to appear in a MrBeast video. Now, I don't know the terms, so I can't say, but I'd be shocked if they didn't give MrBeast and Beast Enterprises a huge amount of freedom in what they can do or not do during the video. And furthermore, that would be a civil claim of the contestant versus Beast Enterprises. It's not a law that is broken. Maybe it's pedantic, but it's not illegal to breach a contract anyway. Now, ironically, it might be Dogpack 404 who's in hot legal water. MrBeast's lawyers have sent 2 cease and desist letters to the ex-worker. The letters allege that his statements are defamatory and violate his confidentiality and non-disclosure agreement. Now, generally, I hate these kind of strong-arm tactics to silence critics. This is exactly what Logan Paul is currently doing with CoffeeZilla. But the situation might be theoretically different from a legal perspective. This isn't just some critical third party, but a person who was an employee. They had a direct contractual relationship with MrBeast. So the contract terms will be just as important as the general law on defamation. Now, as you probably know, a non-disclosure agreement, or NDA, is a legal contract between at least 2 parties that outlines confidential material, knowledge, or information that the parties wish to share with each other for certain purposes, but want to restrict from wider access. The NDA essentially creates a confidential relationship between the parties to protect information covered by the NDA. And usually that's any type of confidential or proprietary information or trade secrets. In this video, YouTuber Some Ordinary Gamer explained the purpose of an NDA.
I hired you at our company, right? And I told you a secret about, something we're doing a month from now, a production that we have coming out in the next 2-3 months. If we hired you to be the editor for that video, and we had told you, hey, don't leak any of this at all, not a single ounce of footage. We want this for you to edit, we want you to put these videos together, and we want you to, basically have these ready to go up on our actual collaborative channel. If you decided to leak that footage, it would be well within our right to take you to court.
Now, Mudahar is right that a company could sue a person who violated an NDA by disclosing things about that production if those things are within the scope of the NDA. And he's generally right that an NDA cannot compel a person not to disclose a crime. If an NDA attempts to prevent someone from reporting illegal activities, the NDA might be considered void if it violates public policy. However, what constitutes a violation of public policy varies substantially according to the jurisdiction. Some states have adopted laws that strike non-disclosure provisions, which prohibit employees from disclosing unlawful employment practices such as discrimination, harassment, or fraud. North Carolina, where MrBeast is based, has not adopted such a law. The issue really becomes whether Dogpack witnessed anything that would be against public policy in the state that governs the NDA. So while it's true that NDAs generally cannot be used to conceal illegal activities, the person really has to have evidence of at least an illegal activity that would be considered against public policy to have an NDA against. And it doesn't seem like Dogpack has made any statements of witnessing anything firsthand that MrBeast did anything that was against the law. And now MrBeast's lawyers have sent 2 cease and desist letters to Dogpack. He appeared on Oompaville's show and declared that he isn't scared.
How do you feel about that? Do you feel nervous? I would be shitting myself if I were you.
No, I'm not shitting myself.
Now, generally, I would agree. A cease and desist letter doesn't mean anything except the sender wants you to stop. But if he did disclose information that was covered by the NDA, then he could be in trouble. Now, it would be a breach of contract claim. So it's not against the law to violate your NDA, but it does mean you can be sued civilly for a breach of contract. And there's no doubt that he's causing MrBeast reputational harm. Whether that's warranted is up to you. But the NDA could also contain a non-disparagement clause. A non-disparagement clause prevents a signatory from disparaging the other party for a certain amount of time, even if the things that they say are true or non-confidential. This clause is meant to stop the parties from making public or private comments that could harm the reputation or business interests of the other party. especially in a situation like this where the person can truthfully say that they were an employee for a limited amount of time to add authority to their claims. Now, disparagement is not the same as defamation. Defamation generally only applies when these statements are false. Disparagement just means saying something negative about the other person, even if it's 100% correct. So if Dogpack's NDA has a non-disparagement clause that's still in effect, he could be in a lot of trouble because he's been doing a lot of disparaging, even if you assume that everything he says is 100% true. Now, Dogpack redacted the name of the law firm in the cease and desist letter, only quoting a portion of the firm's website, and some have suggested that the cease and desist letters were from the law firm Quinn Emanuel. And the name of the firm, Quinn Emanuel, Urquhart & Sullivan, fits the amount of space in the cease and desist letter that Dogpack shared on Twitter. Now, if so, these are not lawyers you want to mess with. I personally never met a lawyer from Quinn who wasn't a huge asshole, often in a way that's counterproductive to their client, but still, they have a reputation for scorched earth litigation. But on the other hand, with respect to the NDA, it seems like most of what Dogpack has disclosed was already in the public and is based on accounts from other people, not what he witnessed firsthand. He certainly used his status as an ex-employee to make it seem like he has inside knowledge, but from what I've seen, he seems to be largely relaying what other people are talking about rather than using his own firsthand knowledge. But without knowing the terms of the NDA, it's hard to say how much trouble Dogpack might be in. But on the other hand, it might not be a good look to sue a critic out of existence, another fellow YouTuber. Plus, it just creates more of a Streisand effect, too. But love him or hate him, if you're tired of seeing all the MrBeast clones on YouTube, you can see the best videos from the highest quality creators on today's sponsor, Nebula. And it's your last chance to sign up before the price increases on September 1st. Because Nebula is the streaming platform that my friends and I created from scratch to host our exclusive videos and special projects. On Nebula, you can watch all of our videos ad-free and early because our videos always go up on Nebula first. Plus, there's tons of exclusive content, and for a limited time, you can get a lifetime membership. You can buy once and then never again. It's the greatest deal of all. And I know tens of thousands of you sign up for Nebula using the CuriosityStream bundle, but unfortunately, that's over. CuriosityStream has informed us, and even included in their latest SEC filing, that they're not going to pay us bundle revenue through 2024. That means that my fellow Nebula creators and I won't get any money from those who signed up for the CuriosityStream bundle. So the bundle's breaking and you're not going to be able to have access to Nebula anymore after 2024. But if you want to support this channel, the only way to ensure that that money that you spend on Nebula goes to us directly is to sign up directly. And if you're new here, Nebula includes tons of exclusive videos from me, original series from your favorite people, movies, plays, classes, and more. With favorites like Johnny Harris, Neo, Jetlag, Real Life Engineering, Real Life Lore, and your most favorite LegalEagle. And exclusive on Nebula are getting really good. I've really been enjoying our new series Jetlag, The Getaway. It's kind of like The Amazing Race, but with some of your favorite YouTube creators. And it's hilarious because the whole thing is rigged against them, but they don't know it. You can also see my exclusive feature-length documentary, Bad Law Words Good, and other exclusive content, including my full-length interview with the screenwriter of My Cousin Vinny, and my not safe for work video about lawsuits that are too hot for YouTube. Because what's truly special about Nebula is that it's a creator-owned platform built by me and other YouTubers and podcasters, and because it's a subscription service, we get to work on larger, higher-budget productions than we ever could anywhere else. It's becoming the answer to the question, how do you get Hollywood-level production value without Hollywood-level BS? And for those of you that want to share everything that Nebula has to offer with your friends and family, Nebula is now offering annual gift cards. So if you sign up using the link that's on screen right now, you can give a year of Nebula to a friend for 40% off the yearly subscription. And that's a gift that you can give to yourself, by the way, because you deserve it. So get a 40% off discount for you or a friend's yearly subscription, or check out Lifetime, where for $300, you can get access to Nebula forever. We're investing in more big concept, high-octane Nebula originals, and your Lifetime subscription goes towards that investment. In a way, Lifetime is the best possible deal of all. Either way, you'll get all of my videos early and get access to exclusives and support the ambitious projects that my friends and I are working on our own streaming site. So sign up now and get you or a friend 40% off of Nebula, or get the incredible Lifetime deal by clicking on the link below. And after that, click on this box over here for more LegalEagle, or I'll see you in court.